There is one book that completely changed my life and how I approach product development, which is not really talked about in the mainstream media. And today I want to share with you guys what it is. So the book which changed my life was a book called Unscripted by MJ DeMarco. Now the reason why this book had such a profound impact on my life is because it changed the way that I see the world in terms of my career, building a business, and also building apps, products and services out onto the marketplace as well. And there are three major lessons that I learned from this book that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. Because the other business books that were out on the market, such as The 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and Atomic Habits by James Clear, those books were great and all that, and I learned a few things from those books, but nothing was as hard as hitting as MJ DeMarco in his book Unscripted. The first major lesson that I learned from the book is what we call engineering a value skew. So in the book Unscripted, MJ talks about what we call a value skew, which completely changed my mind because most people only build something slightly cheaper, slightly faster, and maybe a slightly better user interface. But a value skew is like dropping a hand grenade in a crowded market. You're not just competing, you're actually changing the game for the better. Instead of asking yourselves, how can I make this 10% better than the competition? Instead ask yourselves this, how can I engineer a value skew that makes it 10x better than everything else out in the market and more compelling? That's what a value skew does. It makes you stand out and not just fit in. The examples of a value skew that you can engineer can be speed, cost ambiguity, reliability, accountability, choice, ease of use, a better user interface, which is much better than the competitors, and also something that's missing in 2025, which is much better customer support than your competitors. Because as MJ DeMarco says, whenever you can skew value within a product pool of attributes, you stand out and cast a bigger market. The bigger the skew, the more attractive your company becomes to the consumer. Think about Uber. Look what they did to the taxi industry globally. They engineered a massive value skew so that it was actually better to take an Uber than it was to take a normal taxi. Because when you took a normal taxi, the chances were that you were going to get ripped off, the driver was going to take a longer route so he could make more money, and also when you called the hotline for a taxi, there was no guarantee that they would actually show up, or it would take 1 to 2 hours to actually show up. Especially from my experience. Whereas with the Uber, once you ordered an Uber, you can actually see where it is and actually when it's going to arrive within minutes. And also, when you're in the Uber, you can actually see the GPS location and the map of actually where he's going. So that if he tries to take you for a ride, you can actually report the driver and actually give the driver a bad review and all that. So that they were able to engineer those massive attributes of actually having a better experience for customers rather than just taking a normal taxi. The second major thing that I learned from the book was the concept of a product-ocracy. Now, if you guys don't know what a product-ocracy is, MJ DeMarco defines a product-ocracy is when your product is so good, it pretty much sells itself via word of mouth. Because if you have to rely on high-pressure sales tactics or extensively be relying on paid advertising to sell your product, you might have a product problem where your product may not be as good as you think. So you may need to go back to the drawing board in order to improve your product so that you can start getting users via word of mouth and referrals as well. I'm not saying that paid advertising is a bad thing, but if you're 100% relying on paid advertising and having to extensively spend a long amount of time to convince people to use your product, you may have an issue and you may need to go back to the drawing board because paid advertising doesn't float the boat. It steams the boat. It's supposed to enhance sales. You're not supposed to be 100% reliant on it 100% of the time. Think about this, whether you sell a product, a service, or an app, or whatever, and you're 100% reliant on paid advertising, guess what happens when the paid advertising stops? The customers stop coming in. And when the customers stop coming in, the revenue stops. And when the revenue stops, that means you're out of business. So if you're 100% reliant on paid advertising to run your business, to sell your product, service, or app, you may have a product-ocracy problem where your app, product, or service may not be as good as you think. And the third major lesson that I learned from the book Unscripted was the concept of the SENSE framework. Alright, so this is MJ DeMarco's secret sauce. This is how you figure out whether your business idea is even worth building and executing. So the SENSE framework stands for control, entry, need, time, and scale. So let's break it down to see what this actually all means. So with control, the question is, are you 100% in control of the business or is somebody else pulling the strings? So if you're building something on Shopify or relying 100% on Instagram organic traffic, what happens if there's an algorithm change? In regards to entry, is there a barrier to entry for your product or service or app? Because if anybody with ChatGPT can replicate your app within one weekend, you're probably going to be competing with the world. Need. This one's pretty much self-explanatory. Does it solve a painful, urgent problem that people actually need? You will be shocked to see how many apps that there are out there, out on the market that nobody cares about, because MJ DeMarco says the pain is gold. Solve a real problem and you'll never need to hard sell your product, service or app. Time. So this question is asking, is your business tied to how many hours that you work? Scale. Can your business grow without you? Interstate, nationally, globally? That is the beauty about apps. Every single time I filter an idea through the Sense framework with my clients as well, I avoid wasting so much time and money, especially when I'm working on apps and product ideas for myself and with my clients as well. Look, MJ DeMarco doesn't stop at the frameworks and strategies. Unscripted is a full-on mind shift because it's all about burning the default script that society has given you. Here are the few of the other truth bombs from the book that really hit me hard. The first one being is the script is a lie, because as MJ talks about the script is go to school, get a job, save for 40 years and retire at 65 if you're lucky maybe. Because MJ's asking, who wrote the script? Who benefits from this script? Because it's designed to keep you docile and dependent, because the real path to freedom isn't working harder in the system, it's burning the system and building your own. The second major truth bomb he says is, don't follow your passion, monetize value. Because I used to think, follow the passion and the money will come. But MJ DeMarco flips that. He says, passion doesn't pay the bills, value does. Because your job isn't to monetize and do what you love. It's actually solve a problem so well that people will gladly pay for. And guess what? Once the money and the freedom and the momentum kicks in, your passion can actually follow. The third major truth bomb that MJ DeMarco says is that time is not a currency that you can refuel. Because MJ DeMarco really hammers this point home is that trading money the entire time is a losing game, because you can always make more money, but you can never get back your time, because time is the most valuable thing that we have. Because this really changed the way that I look at in regards to hourly freelancing versus building leverage through licensing, productized services or equity-based work. And the fourth truth bomb that MJ talks about is execution is everything, because ideas are a dime a dozen, execution is everything. Because he says you don't need better ideas, you just need better action. Because if you're still stuck reading books, watching YouTube videos the entire time and not doing anything at all, you're unfortunately still scripted. So just start messy, start small, but most importantly, just make a start. I'm telling you, this book isn't just information, it's fire. And if you're actually serious about building a serious business or brand and not just a job in disguise, go pick up a copy of Unscripted and read it. And if you are interested in building an app, but you lack the technical expertise to actually bring it to life, I can help you out with that. What I would like you to do is to click on the link below to book in a free call with me to discuss how I can personally help you bring your app idea to life in the shortest amount of time possible. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you guys got a lot of value out of what I learned from the book Unscripted by MJ DeMarco. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button down below and don't forget to subscribe for the latest videos upcoming on this channel.